The derelict had no right to feel this way. 4,000 years of silence, and yet the Hopewell's scans bled heat, atmosphere, and motion.
Captain, I am picking up thermal blooms, full atmospheric pressure. This wreck is alive.
Impossible. Recalibrate. A lost generation ship doesn't just switch back on.
The recalibration failed. The display showed a ghost image of the dead ship, and beneath, tiny spikes of movement.
I've confirmed it. Biomass. Something inside is metabolizing. This isn't a wreck, it's a habitat.
Then it's a salvage with a complication. We board, standard protocol.
Protocol for vacant derelicts. Not for whatever this is.
But Zalar had already filed the claim. The salvage claw latched on, and the outer airlock cycled with a hiss of escaping atmosphere. The crew stepped into the Hopewell's outer lock. The walls were lined with Terran script, faded but legible under pulsing amber lights. The inner door remained sealed, but a faint vibration bled through, a rhythm like breathing. Rifles raised, they waited. The inner airlock split along a seam that had not moved in 40 centuries, and warm amber light poured through. Zalar's bulk went rigid in the doorway, his faceplate throwing back the glare like a warning. Beyond him, the Hopewell opened into a curved horizon of tiered cities, green spaces and suspended lights. It was not a tomb, it was a world, breathing and lit from within, and waiting at the center of that world, arranged in silent rows, stood hundreds of human figures. Over their heads, a banner hung in both Terran and Karun script. The words were a cold shock. The salvers had not lowered their rifles. Every muzzle still pointed at the impossible crowd. Zalar's grip tightened. He could see the faces now, calm, patient, waiting for them. No one moved. The silence was a third party in the airlock. The inner door had finished its cycle. There was no going back.
Captain Zalar, Threx, Marine, you crossed the threshold exactly when our models predicted.
You speak Karun. You have our names. How?
We have been listening to your civilization for centuries, Captain. Your salvaged frequencies are not as encrypted as you believe.
Centuries. This derelict has been adrift for 4 millennia. You are telling us you've been waiting that long?
14 centuries of active preparation. To be precise, my great-great-grandparents rehearsed this exact moment.
You rehearsed a first contact scenario based on salvage law? What kind of derelict does that?
The Hopewell was never a derelict, Captain. We simply closed the door until someone knocked with the right tools. That was you.
Captain, if they've studied our codes for centuries, every salvage claim we filed is compromised. This isn't a find, it's a trap.
No trap, Marine. An invitation. You are here because we wanted you here. Now, put down the rifles and come inside.
Zalar lowered his weapon first, a slow, deliberate motion. The others followed, and silently they stepped through the doorway into the breathing world.
The Hopewell carries 1.2 million souls, Captain. We are the 43rd generation since launch.
43 generations and no planetfall. That was a choice, not a failure.
We decided the journey was more important than any destination. The Ark became our world.
They passed through living quarters, where warm light spilled from stacked apartments, ordinary life continuing undisturbed.
Under Karun's salvage law, a manned vessel cannot be claimed. You are not derelict. Our claim is void.
You understand. Our legal status is secure. But we are not here to cite codes. We want a dialogue.
They entered a simple chamber with a curved table. The crew sat, feeling the weight of unspoken history.
So you engineered our arrival. What exactly do you want from us?
A conduit to the Concordat. You will present our proposal for sovereign recognition.
They mean to use us as their voice, and we have no choice but to listen.
Elder Aldrich stepped into the amber light. The Hopewell is a cultural resilience experiment. We were never lost.
Article 37, Allows claims on vessels that haven't sent a distress beacon for over a century.
Article 37 applies only to vessels with less than 50 permanent crew. You know this.
We have studied every clause. Our legal library covers your jurisprudence for 800 years.
The Karun Council must confirm abandonment before any salvage. We can still petition.
Your petition would arrive in 40 years. By then, we will already be in contact with the Concordat.
They've cut off every exit. We're not salvagers, we're hostages to their timing.
You lured us here with false telemetry. That's illegal under the Privacy of Signal Act.
The Act exempts vessels in sealed self-containment. Our signal was not false. It reflected our status.
The salvers fell silent. The room felt smaller, the walls bearing 4 millennia of preparation that had already swallowed every argument.
Threx. Your third clutchmate died in a mining accident when you were 11. You still blame yourself for not being there.
How could you possibly know that? That was sealed in my family archive. No one outside.
We have listened to every transmission, every personal log, every unguarded whisper your people have broadcast for centuries.
Get to your point, human.
Captain Zalar, you are 8,000 credits in debt to a cartel that will kill you within 3 years. We can clear it.
She's reading my file like a dossier. We have no secrets left.
If you know our debts, you know our survival depends on this salvage. What do you offer instead?
Not a bribe, Marine. A shift in leverage. You present our case. We ensure your debts vanish, and your status rises.
Threx pressed back into his seat, his claws gripping the armrest. Marine's eyes narrowed. Zalar sat motionless, a muscle twitching under his mandible.
They've mapped our fears. Everyone. There's no way out unless we play their game.
Here is the formal proposal. Sovereign recognition by the Concordat, with you as our sponsors. In return, you receive a 30% stake in our first trade contract.
She slid a data tablet across the table. The numbers were staggering, more wealth than 10 salvage runs.
30%? That's life-altering. Captain, we could clear your debt and start new.
Or it's a trap. They've read our minds. They can fabricate any document.
The proposal references Concordat legal protocols correctly. If it's a forgery, it's perfect.
The Hopewellers said nothing, letting the salvers tear apart the offer in their own language.
We will leave you to discuss. Take the time you need. We have waited centuries. We can wait another hour.
She and Aldrich withdrew, leaving the three alone in the warm, quiet room.
Zalar, this is our way out. Not of the ship, of our old lives. Why are you hesitating?
Because I don't trust what I can't shoot. And I can't shoot an idea.
The door reopened before the argument could settle. Lyra carried a small crystalline projector.
This is the projected deployment of your 5th Fleet for the next 6 months. Verified 2 days ago.
That's classified. Even we don't have access to that.
We have been monitoring your military channels since your first planetary unification. Patterns repeat.
If this is genuine, you could blackmail half the Concordat. Why negotiate at all?
Because we are not conquerors. We want a seat at the table, not a knife at the throat.
She expanded the hologram into a 3-dimensional schematic of the Hopewell, every deck annotated.
Economic projections, fleet logistics, sealed treaties. We have compiled more than your own intelligence services.
They hold the Concordat's entire underbelly. One mistake, and they could tear us apart.
You've made your point, Lyra. Now we need to think. Alone.
Zalar's sidearm cleared the holster before Threx could flinch, the muzzle fixed on Lyra's chest.
She did not flinch. Her hands rose slowly, palms open, a gesture older than her ship.
You have shown me your mind. Now show me what your body does against a kinetic round.
If you fire, the round will not leave the barrel. We have non-violent containment. It would be pointless.
Zalar, stop. They've already proven they can disable our systems. What if they can do the same to our weapons?
Put it down, Captain. This isn't a fight. It's a negotiation, and we're out-negotiated.
Zalar's finger lay along the trigger guard. Not on it. The weapon felt like a toy against what he had seen.
You are a practical being, Zalar. Violence would cost you everything you still have. Lower it, and we talk.
The sidearm clattered onto the table. Zalar sat heavily, the fight draining from his shoulders.
Talk then. But if this is a lie, I will find a way to make you regret it.
Then take this. A formal request for recognition with all relevant data. You are now our emissaries.
The walk back to the airlock was silent, the vast interior now a witness rather than a wonder.
We will be listening, Captain. Not to threaten, but to welcome you back when you return.
The airlock sealed. The docking clamps released, and the salvage ship pulled away, leaving the Hopewell gleaming alone.
We could run. We have the data. We could sell it to the highest bidder and vanish.
They would find us. They know everything. Running just proves we can't be trusted.
Our best play is to deliver exactly what we promised. They've already paid us in leverage. We just haven't collected yet.
She's right. Betrayal would cost more than compliance. And I still don't know the limits of their reach. Set a course for the Concordat seat. We deliver the message exactly as written, no edits.
The ship hummed into FTL, carrying a proposal that would rewrite the sector's politics, drafted centuries before its bearers were born. The salvage ship dropped out of FTL into the Concordat core system, the grand spires of the government complex glinting under a pale lavender sun.
Transmit the full data packet. Trade logs, fleet projections, the cultural experiment thesis, everything.
The screen flickered with a stern counselor's face, a derelict that trained for first contact. The council finds this claim dubious.
They want us to appear in person. The council is already dismissing it as a salvage scam.
Then, show them the classified route projections. Let them explain how we have their own sealed files.
The counselor's mandibles froze as the data stream populated his screen. Troop movements, trade embargoes, sealed treaties. In the council chamber, aides scrambled to verify the breach. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of cooling fans. This is genuine. How did you obtain it? The counselor's voice had lost its edge, replaced by urgency.
We obtained it from a civilization that has been listening to your unsecured channels for 800 years. They want to talk.
A pause. Then the counselor spoke again. The Concordat authorizes a fact-finding delegation. You will escort them to the vessel. 3 Karun diplomatic ships drifted alongside the Hopewell, their sleek hulls dwarfed by the ancient cylinder. The delegation was received at the same airlock.
Welcome to the Hopewell. You are the first outsiders to walk our corridors, but we have rehearsed your visit for centuries.
She led them through a bustling thoroughfare lined with shops and gardens. The scent of fresh bread mixed with recycled air. In a classroom, children studied Karun grammar, already able to conjugate verbs the delegation themselves often misspelled.
Every generation added to our knowledge. We turned waiting into a discipline, and discipline into a civilization.
The market square buzzed with life. Artisans sold tapestries depicting star charts. Children chased each other around a fountain. A delegate paused before a vendor, who offered a clay cup of aromatic tea. The exchange needed no translation. By the third day, the delegation's skepticism had eroded. They walked the same corridors the Salvers first entered, now seeing only neighbors. When the delegation finally departed, they carried not just a draft treaty, but a profound sense of having been studied and respected.
We will await your council's decision, as we have awaited your arrival, patiently and with great hope.
The delegation returned to the Concordat Assembly Hall. A hush fell as they projected Elder Aldrich's recorded testimony onto the central dais.
The Hopewell was never a lost ark. It was a deliberate long-duration experiment in cultural resilience, launched to outlast any planetary catastrophe. For 43 generations, we trained not just to survive, but to understand. Every signal you transmitted, we dissected. Every legal code, we mastered.
The hologram shifted to the Hopewell's think tank, rows of humans and aliens analyzing real-time data streams. The counselors leaned forward. Scenes of the archive rooms followed, walls of glowing data crystals that held more accurate records of Karun history than the Concordat's own library.
We are not refugees seeking shelter. We are a sovereign culture that chose isolation as a crucible. And now we offer our learned patience to your Concordat.
A draft treaty materialized on the central dais, its clauses meticulously aligned with Karun law and Hopeweller philosophy. The head counselor studied the document, then nodded slowly. This will be put to a vote. The Hopewell has earned a hearing. The delegation leader addressed the assembly. We recommend ratification without amendment. They have earned their place through centuries of preparation. The treaty was formally entered into the record. The counselors began their deliberation, and the fate of the Hopewell hung in the balance. The council chamber buzzed with sharp debate. Opposition counselors warned that a shadow intelligence network could destabilize the Concordat from within. A senior counselor projected onto the screen. They have breached our most classified files. Recognition is an admission of weakness. Then, Zalar raised a claw for silence. The Salvers were called to testify. The chamber stilled.
I held a gun to their leader's head, and she didn't flinch. They are not a threat. They are the most patient people I have ever met.
They could have blackmailed us into oblivion. Instead, they asked for a seat at the table. That is not weakness, it's wisdom.
I was terrified when we boarded, but everything they told us was true. They were never cruel. That matters more than you know.
The vote was called. It was close, 53 to 47. The Hopewell would be recognized as a sovereign cultural enclave. The chamber erupted, some in applause, others in bitter grumbling. A new member had joined the Concordat, unlike any before. The treaty was signed into law, but with conditions: full transparency of intelligence archives and a 5-year probationary period. The Salvers stood aside, their part done. They had turned from opportunists into the architects of an unprecedented alliance. Within the Hopewell, the think tank thrummed. Humans and Karun analysts sifted through centuries of data, crafting solutions for intractable disputes.
We offer what we have, patience as a resource, and history as a lens. Let the Concordat see what we see.
In the Grand Assembly Hall, a Hopewell advisor guided a tense mediation between rival merchant guilds. The conflict dissolved before the session ended.
They are not used to someone who listens without an agenda. That is our advantage, an impartial mirror held up to their disputes.
News spread. The Ark became known as a neutral ground where old vendettas could be unpacked and laid to rest. Star charts updated. The Hopewell's influence pulsed outward, a cyan web entangling the sector's power centers. But in the private chambers of old guard counselors, whispers festered. An outsider that knew everything was a threat, dressed as a gift.
Aldrich, I hear resentment growing. A faction is gathering, men who see our transparency as a weapon aimed at them.
We expected this. Transparency is our armor. Let them investigate before they accuse. We have nothing to hide.
But the rumor mill churned faster than any investigation. An opposition bloc formed, waiting for a moment to strike. The first strike came in the form of a public inquiry. A coalition of 13 counselors demanded a full audit of Hopewell's archives, alleging cultural manipulation. On the floor, the lead accuser read a statement. They have been reshaping our laws and customs from the shadows. This is not diplomacy. This is colonization by other means. Lyra watched the broadcast from the Hopewell's meeting room. She expected this. Aldrich sat beside her, unblinking.
Let them audit every crystal, every log, every conversation we ever recorded. Show them we have nothing to hide.
And we will publish the findings ourselves, before the Concordat can spin them. Transparency is a weapon only if you fear it.
The investigation lasted 6 months. Concordat forensic experts scoured the Ark's memory banks, cross-referencing every intercepted transmission against Karun law. They found no evidence of coercion or hidden influence campaigns. The Hopewell had merely listened, and their advice was always offered openly, with citations. When the final report was delivered to the Assembly, the lead accuser's own name appeared in the appendix, a minor incident of bribery he had hoped was buried. The report absolved the Hopewell and exposed the accuser's hypocrisy. The opposition bloc fractured, its credibility shattered.
They assumed we would use secrets to destroy. We used them to build. That is the difference they could never grasp.
4 years later, the salvage ship docked at the same airlock. The crew stepped out, not in environment suits, but in formal Karun attire.
Lyra met them at the threshold. You have come home, it seems. She smiled, and for the first time, Zalar smiled back.
We brought back more than a treaty. We brought an entire civilization's trust.
When I first saw this place, I was terrified. Now I realize it was the terror that saved me.
The Hopewell had prepared a ceremony not of triumph, but of gratitude. Songs sung in Karun filled the corridors.
I held a gun to your leader's head, and she taught me that the strongest weapon is the one you never have to fire. I was a fool, and you made me wise.
We only showed you what you already had, the courage to choose peace over plunder.
The Elder Council declared them honorary Hopewellers. Their names were carved into the Ark's inner hull, alongside the first founders. Threx, Myrene, and Zalar walked through the city they had once entered with weapons raised, now greeted by children who knew their names. Their journey from opportunists to ambassadors became the legend the Hopewell would tell its own children, a story of how the Ark began to open. A tight beam transmission pierced the void toward Sol, carrying the Hopewell's full history and a single question: does Terra remember us? The response came not from Earth's government, but from a dusty archive bureau. Their records contained no matching launch signature. Biologists from the Terran Historical Bureau stared at the genetic data. It was authentic, but their databases held no trace of the Hopewell mission.
We expected this. Earth launched 1,000 arcs in that era. They lost more than they remember.
We were never a colony. We were an idea that outgrew its cradle, and now we need no one's permission to exist.
The Hopewell was not built to reach a new world. It was built to become one. Earth's forgetfulness liberates us from a past we never lived.
The Hopewell Council formally declined any dependency on Earth. They were not a lost colony, but a new beginning.
We left Earth behind, but we carried everything we needed. They forgot us. We remembered ourselves.
The Ark continued its drift, its lights a little brighter, its purpose fully its own. What they built next would echo across the sector. Within a decade, the Hopewell's think tank was not just advising the Concordat, it was rewriting interstellar law. Every treaty session requested a Hopewell observer.
They call our presence a guarantee of good faith. Our silence has more weight than any fleet.
When the Yulthari and the Grendari were about to start a war over water rights, both sides insisted on a Hopewell mediator. You stopped a conflict without a single shot.
The cyan web on the star charts thickened, now a stable network of policy, education, and cultural exchange. The Ark was no longer drifting, it was a center of gravity.
Our greatest invention was not a technology. It was the discipline to wait, to listen, and to speak only when we could help.
Other species began to study the Hopewell's methods. Cultural resilience became a core subject in Concordat academies. The Ark's halls filled with ambassadors, scholars, and the curious, all seeking the wisdom born from 4,000 years of patient survival.
We never left this ship, but we changed the course of 100 civilizations.
And you did it by becoming the one thing no empire can conquer, a memory that outlasts them.
The Hopewell drifted on, not as a relic, but as a lighthouse. Its light reached farther than any fleet. A Karun battle group dropped out of FTL and took up a protective formation around the Hopewell, their weapons cold, but their presence undeniable.
They once approached as salvors. Now they come as guardians. We have taught them that some treasures cannot be claimed.
The Concordat declared the Hopewell a cultural treasure. An attack on you is an attack on them.
The hull reflected the cyan glow of escort ships, a constellation of steel wrapped around the ancient cylinder.
All the generations of waiting, this was what they rehearsed. Not a battle, but a welcome.
She looked out at the stars, her braid gray now, but her eyes still bright with the same patience that had defined her people.
We never fired a shot. We outweighted war itself.
The fleet's signal lights blinked a rhythmic salute. The Ark answered with its own steady pulse, a heartbeat that had never stopped.
The journey is long, but we have learned to love the drift.
The Hopewell sailed on, escorted by those it had once welcomed, with an open airlock and a promise. In the Hopewell's inner gardens, under a false sky that had never known rain, Elder Lyra walked alone. The leaves were real. She brushed a finger across a fern her great-grandmother had planted. 4,000 years of closed loops, water, air, hope, all still cycling. Not a single system had failed. She thought of Earth and felt no bitterness, only a calm certainty that they had become what Earth never could. The Ark's heartbeat, a low hum deep in the walls, had never changed. It was the first sound she remembered, and it would be the last. Around her, the garden thrived. Generations of children had played here, and they would play here still. She sat on a stone bench and closed her eyes, listening to the distant echo of a classroom where young voices conjugated Karaun verbs. Everything they had prepared for had come to pass, and they had been ready. When she opened her eyes, the false sun was setting. The eternal drift continued, and somewhere in the void, a ship that had been forgotten by one world was remembered by 100 others. The Hopewell sailed on through the eternal night, its hull wrapped in the gentle glow of 100 escort ships. Inside the Ark, 1,000,000 lives carried on, their days measured by the same gentle hum that had rocked their ancestors. The derelict was dead, but the Hopewell was more than alive. It was a civilization in motion, a city of patient wisdom. It had never fired a shot. It had outweighted war itself. And now the galaxy moved with it, not behind it. 4,000 years of preparation, and they had met the galaxy not with weapons, but with an open airlock and a question. Are you ready to learn? The cyan and amber lights that once signaled only to the void now blinked in harmony with the fleets around them. What began as salvage became a salvation, not for the Ark, but for those who found it. The Hopewell never stopped drifting. It simply changed the tide, fade to black.